like our parents like raised us with like lovely Jewish values and to appreciate Shabbat dinner, but there were many Fridays that was like, hurry up and eat the movie starting, get out of the house.
Welcome to another episode of the Friday Night Movie Podcast. This week we are going to be intergalactic. Well, I mean intergalactic, maybe inside the solar system. It's hard to. I don't really know the borders of space, but we have with us writer, comedian, podcaster Tim Barnes. You may know him. He writes for Nickelodeon sitcom Warp. He wrote for and did sketches with Jimmy Fallon, and he has a new show that we're going to talk about in just a moment called Maurice on Mars, which is just the kind of sci-fi social commentary absurdity that I absolutely love. So I'm thrilled to get to do this. Tim, welcome to the family.
Thank you for having me on. I'm so excited. Yes, is the term intergalactic correct when you're talking about your own solar system?
Yeah, well, if it's Mars, I think it's a bit of a stretch.
It's just galactic.
That's right. That's galactic. I guess we're going to talk about Star Wars a little later, so that's intergalactic, I hope. But I also love hyperbole. Like I tell. So speaking of stories, Lily, earlier today, Allie and I went to Target to go camp shopping with the kids to buy their, the material, the extra shirts and the towels. And by the way, things are very different than when we were kids in terms of what you have to bring now.
Yeah.
Lily, you remember we used to go to Schrader's in Montreal, right? I mean, every Montrealer remembers the Schrader's, right? You'd go. There's just like a rack of no-name brand sweatshirts. T-shirts. There was just T-shirts,
sweatshirts. Shorts, like that
was the brand.
Sounds like a nice song. Yeah.
Exactly. And you'd pay cash to get
You could only pay cash.
You could only pay cash.
Wow.
Your mom would come with this roll of bills. But now you go to Target and you can find things on the list. And first of all, any scene shopping with me and my family, and this is what the kids reflect to me because they just watched Parks and Rec, right? So they reflect to me. They're like, because we have a list, and I'm looking at onesie fuzzy head to toe pajamas, like, and I was kids.
You veer from the list. I
veer from the list. We agreed that I reminded them of that episode of Parks and Rec when Ben moves in with Andy and April, and he sends them to Bed Bath and Beyond or a similar store with a list, and they come back with all the as seen on TV stuff. And so that is me. So then I think Allie got wise to it. And she sent me to get a shoe bag, which by the way, I had no idea what this was. A hanging shoe bag. It was in aisle O, which by the way, doesn't exist, is not on the map. And I'm pretty sure that's
where they send the dads at Target.
So I'm circling.
And you're just standing there. There's like a bunch of dads being like, there is no aisle O.
That's a lot of aisles. Yeah. I'm trying to think I've ever seen an aisle O.
Well, guess what? There's a J and an N next to each other and no O. So I'm circling just underwear, travel bags. And I send, and I finally call Allie in the store and say, I got to go and tape a podcast. We have a guest today. I didn't find the shoe bag. I'm so sorry. Like I'd failed. She's like, well, I did sort of tell you that it might not be there. So Ali 100% sent you
on a wild goose chase
into
to get rid of you.
limbo, to keep me from. Because also, like when we arrived, I went right to the toilet. Okay, and I looked at the Star Wars toys. Okay, Tim Barnes.
Yes,
you're here. You've now been really trial by fire. You've been introduced to what goes on with this family. Maurice on Mars is it's about a guy who goes to a seemingly utopian society on another planet, a colony, which I think I love the whole colonial.
The layers here are.
Lily Jones and I agreed there are so many things in this episode. I had to watch it many times. There's so much happening.
I watched it like 4 times.
In terms of intelligent commentary, just every word, every layer. And he's finding out that the weird, terrible things that happen on Earth even if they look on the surface that they might not be there, are at best being repressed, but actually there.
Yes.
And at the same time, my reading from your Instagram is that this is somewhat autobiographical also.
Yeah, it's like a lot. Yeah, it's one of those things, and I find this a lot with like, I do stand up, which is like stand up. But when I create things, like I have a webcomic, when I write stuff, I never realize until it's like the final product how much of my actual life and elements are inside of it. Like when I first wrote the script, I didn't realize that I vaguely thought about the fact that, yeah, I've had like jobs that I didn't like, but I never really put 2 and 2 about the fact that at one point in my life, I had moved from LA to Chicago to pursue comedy. And I started working at a Dunkin' Donuts, and I always got the night shift, which didn't allow me to pursue comedy. And that's the exact same frustration that my character Maurice has in this cartoon, where he wants to be an artist. He moves to Mars because he thinks like maybe they'll recognize my art, but he's stuck in a coffee shop. That's all that he can do. And he is literally the only person who knows that this utopic society is repeating the same Earth problems because he doesn't have the mandatory memory erasing microchip that makes things seem more peaceful on Mars, making you forget all of the old Earth conflicts. Which the question is that would something like that actually be great? Or
that's very Matrix too. Now that I think about it, there's a whole Enter the Matrix kind of element there
for sure.
Okay, so can I dig in on a few different elements of this form? By the way, this is a 4-minute episode, and
so
you could write
impressive
a thesis just on these 4 minutes.
Yeah, it makes me really annoyed at the Stranger Things season. That's like 75 hours of television, and like 2 things happen. I was like, you guys need to take a page out of Maurice's book, because that guy can get a plot done in 4 minutes on the show, like the character. I mean, and so much happens. It's really impressive.
Thank you.
I saw it on YouTube on Comedy Central's animated channel. Is that the primary place for people to watch it? That is
the primary place.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right.
That's, I mean, having worked at Comedy Central before, I know that YouTube is what really matters, because that's where like the good ad money comes. So if you watch it
that's great.
On YouTube, that's the best place. Yeah.
Nice. Okay. So let's we always do spoilers on our show. So I know you politely on your Star Wars podcast, Yub Nub, you warn people like we this is like at a real dinner table. So like we're just going to go into this episode. So, all right. There is this great moment where Maurice is talking about the frustration of having to work at the coffee shop and therefore not being able to pursue his art, which I have many artist friends, musicians who, in order to be musicians, they have to be working musicians or have day jobs that then don't allow them to actually pursue their original work whatsoever. And so they're just on this hand-to-mouth hamster wheel. And I feel like, is that the same type of, that you're sort of dropping us into that type of character?
Yeah, that type of character, that type of situation. And sometimes even when you work you have a nice media job and you're still not able to pursue your art. Like I used to work at Vice. That was my first job in New York as a podcast producer. And there was a sea of video editors editing God knows what. Like I remember once, like I turned to some video editor next to me. It's like, what are you working on? It's a Vice documentary about people who dress up like Hillary Clinton and do BDSM. And they didn't seem excited to say that. So I would just think about all of the vacant Indiegogos at every editor, all these filmmakers doing this stuff that's like not the things that they want to do. And so that is like the prime frustration of Maurice on Mars, is that sort of tension that comes from what you have to do and what you want to do. Yeah.
That's fantastic. Now I see a lot of layers in it. So can I take this one to another layer that I picked up on?
Layers,
no,
layers.
Maybe this is just me being like the man now and an adult and, but I also thought it was really funny when he said, I went to school and I was fooled into thinking I would have a career as an artist. And I mean, like I went to college 20 years ago. I wanted to be a professor at one point, and the professors I spoke to sat down and told me, they were like, you have a better chance of being a rock star than a professor. Don't do this profession. So I did. I was like, all right, forget that. I'm going to study other things. is there a little bit of, are you also kind of poking fun at the naivete of a kid who studies something like art and then just assumes a career is going to be easy?
Yeah, because I was that person. I didn't go to college for a long time. I went to Santa Barbara City College for 2 years because they had a nice film program.
Nice.
But like, I was one of those kids who, my parents didn't go to college. So it was that situation of like, you got to go to college, but I don't know why. So then you get there and you're like, what is this? And then you go to college, but your family doesn't want to hear you do all that college talk when you go, and you know what I mean? Like, so this tension of like higher education is something I think about a lot, especially if your actual pursuit is the arts. I think college is great to get to know other people who
right.
But technology is caught up to the point where like you practically don't really need it.
Right.
No,
it's for other things.
A lot of what
that's a very expensive. It can be a very expensive hangout, though.
You can get a lot of what you get in college at Jewish summer camp. I'm just saying.
But I'm saying if you want to be a lawyer, you want to be a doctor, go to college. Please go to college.
So this podcast is officially saying college is worthless. Gotcha.
Yeah. Exactly. We don't want any. We do want our doctors trained. Okay. All right. So then there's this interaction.
I learned how to be a doctor on YouTube.
So
opening up a private clinic.
So then there's this interaction between, like, in my mind, it's a flying toaster, but like,
I'm curious about that character design.
So that character, I have like
Beta. Yes. Voiced by Lori Beth
That's
Denver.
Beta.
Yes.
Right.
So Beta is like, there's an element of like corporate cynicism around Beta.
Yes.
Because of Beta's sort of mimicking the crack epidemic with coffee as an addictive substance to make money. And I think again, also another layer that you're going into there, like where every word matters.
We're just diving into the matrix. Yes.
And I just a little side note that I love that. Sorry.
Finally, go.
No, go ahead.
No. I don't want to forget the thought. Then you can make
I won't. Okay, fine.
But then later, there's this incredible conversation that Beta has with the robots over about Beta passing as a robot and being indignant. Now, I don't know if I'm supposed to, so I could have. I identified with Beta on a very deep level in that moment because. I think over the last couple of years, as the United States has faced all of the social things they have, like everyone wants to keep an arm's distance from being like the bad guys, right? Like, But as a Jewish person, over the last 5 years, before 2020, but really 5, 6, 7 years, I really went through this process of learning with my friends about like my whiteness, right? Because I got to be honest, growing up, I was like, I'm not with those white guys over there. I'm Jewish. They hate me too. But so there's this moment with Beta struggling with the passing as a robot that I was like, whoa, this is like, I feel like this is a very Jewish moment. Like where
straddling both worlds,
living in different worlds. How do you use your privilege for good? Like, I don't know if you were trying to say that with Beta, but to me, Beta,
like you identify in that way, and then I'm sure so many people can identify in many other ways, not just Jewish people, like people who straddle a lot of different categories.
Yeah, that's the hope. Beta to me is an interesting character. I mean, the design, I got this amazing artist named Uche to design all of the characters. And awesome. He has this great web comic on Webtoons called Vibe Check that he created. And he's just like, I want him to have an amazing career in animation because he just makes some of the funniest stuff. That the
character design is killer. We love animation on this show. Becky, who could not make it today, her husband's actually was a Pixar story artist for a decade, and so animation is a big conversation in our family, and the character design is killer.
Thank you. Yeah, he's so great, and it's like a lot of his natural style. And then my kind of notes on just the design of all the characters was to. The two paradigms were like, Hey Arnold's like sort of abstract, fun shapes, but also the consistency and the realism of King of the Hill, which sound like so different. But like
that's awesome. But I mean, the design of Maurice really embodies that because he looks like a real regular Joe on a certain level, but at the same time, like the hat and the hair part and the sort of like overall shape of the features are just like so iconically cartoony.
Yes, and it's very that is specifically Hey Arnold inspired, just sort of like having a hat between your hair in that way.
Right.
Beta, who I believe, like perhaps on Uche's end, was a little bit inspired by the Brave Little Toaster. I'm not sure exactly, but my concept of Beta is that my concept of kind of every character outside of Maurice is that we don't know much of their origin story. So like, hopefully the interest is to slowly find it out. So with Beta, who is a robot who seems to be made of a bunch of weird different parts. So the question is like, did Beta construct themselves, or did someone make this robot? And how did
we were debating this? Is Beta a robot? Is Beta someone passing as a robot? Does Beta know they're a robot? Maybe they are and they don't know it. I mean, like, again, very
the idea.
I feel like I feel very connected to Beta there.
Beta is a self-hating robot.
Okay, well that's less me.
That's less you.
But I think that is something that people are going through, because I think
when it's convenient, is happy to be a robot. Which I think is at that
happy
moment
to pass, happy to
right, exactly, to embrace the robotness when it's convenient, which it's again insane that you were able to do all of that in 4 minutes.
Yeah, we're talking about 4 minutes.
4 minutes. Like, honestly, Stranger Things. Take notes. Like, for God's sakes. And the point I was going to make before is that I also really like the line about the coffee and then the university kids, because it immediately gave me the impression that, of course, on Mars, they put it in a university, not because they want to educate people, because it's a great marketing tool. Like, if you have university students, right, then you can sell them stuff.
Yes.
And like that, and it's not about educating the young people of Mars. That came to my mind, which I was like, again, brilliant.
I was very happy with the design of the university as well.
Yes.
I didn't want it to look like a classic university. I know in Futurama they had Mars University. And so my idea to the animators at Cartoon, it was like, what if we give it the design aesthetic of an Apple store or something like that? Like this very sleek.
Like a,
simplistic.
I think that it made it seem very commercial.
Yeah.
And that made me think like, of course, like in the future, universities will basically just be ways to sell people stuff.
And I just had this great friend, Katie Jones. She's been on our show, and actually she's been on Finding Favorites, because on occasion Leah will let me guest host Finding Favorites. So I actually did an episode with her recently, but Katie was explaining to me the complexities of the for-profit colleges and how they've taken advantage of people, and this whole story like around Corinthian colleges and that commercial college thing. Again, it's playing on this other deeper level. This is wild. How many episodes are there going to be?
It's going to be 3 episodes. Okay. Episode 2 is about sports on Mars, and episode 3 is about the first recession on Mars. What's great about this premise is that anything that you end with on Mars is automatically interesting.
Yeah. Dude, so how do we participate in making, other than telling everybody they have to watch this show, how do we participate in getting more of this? Because there was another show that we really loved from another animator, also space, AI, a little bit of social commentary. Also, I don't know if you ever heard of Dallas and Robo, but this gentleman, Mike Roberts, who we invited on the show 4 years ago and has now become like a really good friend. In fact, he did our first Kenobi episode with us a couple of weeks ago. Nice. But it was this similar kind of absurd sci-fi, but also has like deeper stuff going on. His stuff is very different in terms of the stuff he's tackling in his show than yours. But that show had 6 episodes, and how do we make sure there's like 100 of these?
I think if you can tweet at Comedy Central or whatever and just say, I really like this, would love to see more, or if you comment on the posts about it.
I haven't figured out any useful situation that I would need Twitter for, but I have it. I just don't know why.
I'm glad
this is a good reason to have it.
I use all the social media on behalf of the fan.
Yeah.
So or use the hashtag.
It's worth it.
Yeah.
Worth it. Hashtag, sorry. What?
Hashtag Maurice on Mars.
Okay.
Maurice
If you post
can I
it,
ask where you got his name? Because we have a cousin named Maurice, and I just feel like you don't often hear it, and I really like it.
Yeah, you don't hear it enough. I wanted it to be, like Marvin the Martian. I wanted to have an M. So Maurice
could have been Michael, though.
It could have been Michael. Maurice feels old school, and I'm really I personally feel like a very detached individual from time, from location, from space. Like I don't have, and that also ties into the theme of Maurice on Mars. Like I'm someone who I don't necessarily have any sort of locational pride. I'm not like, oh, I'm from LA and this is what we do in LA and we're in LA Lakers. Like I don't have any of that. For any, I have no oh, this is how we do it in Brooklyn. I have none of that. I'm just
it's like
and as you're talking
States,
to a guy with the defunct for almost 20 years Expos wearing an Expos hat, right? My loyalty to Montreal. Okay, the other thing that you work on so many things, but we gotta make choices here for people. And you have a podcast called Yub Nub. Yes. And it is.
Do you know why it's called Yub Nub?
Yes. Well, I'm gonna.
If anybody it's Shai. So take it away, nerd.
100%. So hold on a second.
Oh my God! Why did you ask? Somebody could just Google this. Let's move on. Oh.
So hold on.
Oh boy.
So first of all,
you think you like Star Wars, Tim?
No.
I have no idea what you're up against.
Tim, okay. So Yub Nub is a Star Wars podcast of two very funny, intelligent people. But for people who love Star Wars.
Three.
Sorry. Three.
Jeez. Although, to be fair, in Shai's defense, two of you sound exactly the same.
Yes, I agree. Yeah.
One of you needs to auto-tune your voice or
we need to get better.
Batman,
we need to get better at saying whose name is what. Yes.
So it does seem like two, but it is three.
So Yub Nub is, for those who don't know, is in the original cut of Return of the Jedi, which I own the theatrical cut DVDs that came out in the 2000s, specifically because especially Return of the Jedi. I don't mind as much the re-fancied versions of A New Hope or Empire Strikes Back because you get a little more Wampa arm in there. But Return of the Jedi's George Lucas recut has a lot of things that are genuinely unsettling, but the one that has always done me in was the removal of the Yub Nub grand finale song. Truly, as a kid, when you thought Star Wars was over, this is the song that you feel you want. Okay,
so to be fair, I have heard of the song. I love that scene, but no one but the four of you knows what it was called.
But no,
that's what the Ewoks are singing. Yep.
Playing the and now my kids, if I didn't have the theatrical cut, they got to watch the new ending has a Peter Gabriel song. And so all right, so Tim, I feel like
hilarious.
It's the most perfect name for your podcast, okay? Because is Yub Nub a metaphor for why pick that specific thing? Because in my mind, it's got to be a metaphor for loving Star Wars.
I think it is. Yeah, I don't think we overthought it, but it kind of is. It is people who, it crosses generations, but it also makes you. To me, it's a reminder that there have been multiple versions of Star Wars. And this is something that if you listen to Yub Nub, this is a tangent I get on constantly because I think Star Wars is actually an experiment of erasing and reintroducing history. Every generation of Star Wars fans thinks
that's definitely a university class. Right there. Maybe not at the University on Mars. They just sell you Apple products.
I talk about Star Wars for
at another university.
I talk about Star Wars for hours with people. Your podcast, and we're going to talk about an episode now, is one of the few not paradigm shifting, but I only feel relaxed and my brain has expanded. And I get anxious about Star Wars podcasts because I get really nervous, what's this going to be about? Where am I going to land on where they land? And I feel like your approach is, so you're saying the erasing and re-erasing.
It's not to take it to this far, but it's when you accidentally find out that someone's anti-Semitic or a little bit racist, you're like, oh man, I really liked you. Now my life is ruined because we can never be friends.
Right.
If you say the wrong thing about Star Wars in front of Shai, he might just, oh man, now now. I
But
guess
wait,
we're
but
gonna
I
be
don't
friends.
don't lump me in with the toxic people. That's different.
No,
It's a different
that's
thing, 'cause
not
I
the
love
same
it.
thing. But you love it so much that other people's opinion of it deeply affects your heart. That's what
But-
I'm
but
saying.
Everyone
the
has
way-
that line, yeah, about like, oh, you love CGI Yoda? Okay, this is that guy.
Tim, but the way Tim creates like intellectual rule, like an intellectual playing field
It's amazing.
where like disagreement can definitely happen, but it's a real reminder of the love that has to be there at the core.
Yeah. This podcast is about like each of the hosts, all three of us, we try and return to the theme of the show, which is it's for people who actually love Star Wars often, because we all bump against our frustrations with Star Wars at some point. And then it's always that balancing act of trying to figure out, why do we still love it so much? Like the love is never going to go away, but there's always something to like make you get into a debate or argument about. It's more than any other franchise, I feel.
And also, one thing that I think like I was really reflecting on, and so first of all, there's an episode. It's your second to most recent episode about toxic fandom in Star Wars,
Specifically Kenobi.
Specifically the disgusting backlash against Moses Ingram as Reva. But it's really like, if anyone wants to understand this conversation, like this is the only thing, one of the only things you need to listen to is this 45 minutes of podcast. It's so brilliantly laid out.
And and I feel like as much as you think you know about this debate and kind of get it, oh yeah, that's horrible and racist and some fans are stupid, your podcast, I really feel like elevated the discussion for me. And I consider myself a pretty cultured, intellectual person. And listening to you guys talk about it, I felt like I learned a lot. So I think it's important to hear a healthy, interesting discussion about this really awful thing that happens.
And also, there's this moment in it where you're talking about the losers, and someone calls them the General Grievances, and there's this whole riff on General Grievous and his death, and it's making fun of Star Wars. But I know with my sisters, like the highest compliment in our family is if you can nail someone with a zinger that really reflects that you.
Well, it's out of love. There's a difference,
right? That you know that.
And that's what I love about that episode when you guys say the people who begin to, these fans that begin to, consume the product that they love, whatever the media that they love, only to criticize it.
Yeah.
Then that's where it becomes super toxic without it even being racist. It's just that, like, what can I pick apart and that's the only reason now I'm watching it. And this thing that I love has become this thing that I love to hate. And it's really sad because you can criticize something you love, that's the best part.
Yeah.
But when it's coming from a good place, it's a much different conversation when it's just to tear it down. And I think those kinds of people like make Shai very sad because he does, you can tell when someone really does truly love it as like a healthy fan.
Okay. So toxic fans, racist, opportunists, right? Because I like that you also referenced that they're also, this could be the Russians too, by the way.
It could,
right?
Yeah, you never know.
Tearing apart this country's love of Star Wars
is the way to get like
fabric
of the essence
what makes us good.
Right.
Okay.
The very few things that are left.
So that versus my cousins who were born in the late 60s, there's that the Ewok graph where if you were born before a certain year, it was in an episode of How I Met Your Mother.
Okay.
But there's this graph where you can tell what year someone was born by whether or not they like the Ewoks. Because if like they were born pre-78, they think the Ewoks are stupid. If they were born after 78.
Yeah.
I think they're cute.
I love the Ewoks. To me, it's like the story of Hanukkah, like the few against the many, like, you're.
Oh my God. They're literally like, if I could buy one, I would.
No, Billy, you cannot buy an Ewok. That is,
why can't
they have rights?
We learned this in an episode of Yub Nub on
Oh.
a tangent, and we looked up on Wikipedia, and apparently in a Star Wars book or comic or something,
someone has one as a pet.
There was some people purchased Ewoks as a pet, because we were asking what happens to the Ewoks after Return of the Jedi? Do any of them start join the rebellion? How come we've never seen an Ewok in an X-wing? How come what?
Right. Clearly they are intelligent.
And then we learned this horrifying history that apparently some of them were purchased as pets,
That's
which
terrible.
to me sounds like slaves or something.
It does sound like
it does.
So when I said it, I'm actually meant to. I'm not just backpedaling because I fully own saying horrible things. That's fine. I'm just saying that, and I mean, I like to buy one as if like you could get a version of a pet. Not maybe a dog gerbil combo that existed that I could have one that looked like that. I would love that. Okay. But I don't know. They seem also very ruined Star Wars. I will say that they do seem
out of this hole.
Okay, but they do seem like very aggressive in and of themselves, and I don't think I want that in my home personally. They can get very nasty too, those guys.
Yeah.
Right? They get feisty.
I mean, when fighting for the side of good.
Sure. I mean, I love them. I love them.
Okay, wait.
Just like
so
their
Lily,
aesthetic is something I would like to have.
Tim. I need to ask my question of Tim.
Jeez.
How do you classify, like, where do you draw the lines between toxic, horrible fans, my older cousins who thinks the Ewoks are stupid, and like the way I like the times when you're kidding because you love? Like, where are some of the lines that you draw there? Because I know there's a distinction based on having listened to your show.
I mean, I love tearing apart the prequels, but I also grew up at the time where my first introduction to the prequels is pure love of the movies. So I kind of grew into like this situation of like I love I'll watch any video that's like, this is why this scene is weird, or like that kind of thing. I think my line is just like the same lines I have in reality, where it's like where it pushes on something. A social element where you feel like, and especially like any science fiction where you can feel like, well, why is there a black person in this? Like, right? Like it just doesn't make much sense. Yeah. But my lines are very, very fluid in terms of like commenting on Star Wars and making fun of it, and
it's just the racism that gets you.
There's the racism. Yeah.
I mean, the racism is,
but it's fascinating that there's an industry around like tearing Star Wars down, and like anything, like there are people who have thousands or millions of YouTube followers, and their whole thing is like, once a movie, like the moment a movie or show comes out, is like, here's a point by point step of why like this writer sucks. And like,
it's like a major, it's a type of, bullying in the sense that if, makes yourself feel better about yourself, right. To tear down somebody, who is, and when I say somebody, I mean, even just the franchise Disney, like who's untouchable. Yeah. And like, if I can make myself feel bigger and better and other people will feel better about themselves, then of course there's definitely a market for that, unfortunately.
Yeah. I feel like I realized recently, Jim from Yub Nub, I think, is the one who pointed out to me, is that what makes Star Wars different from every other franchise is that it started off as one movie. It didn't start off as a book. It didn't start off as a comic. It didn't start off as a cartoon. Like
there's no source material.
Yeah, the source material is one movie that made a lot of people happy. The first movie happened to not have many people of color in it. So you expand from that. This is just like the strangest franchise. Everyone, their imagination is so entwined with it. Their imagination is a part of of what helped Star Wars expand. Where like people are like, well, sometimes it's like headcanon is a thing, like headcanon.
What's
that?
Headcanon is like how you always imagined something would have taken place.
Right. Right. Okay.
Or I think it could also be there. For years, when there wasn't a Star Wars movie after Return of the Jedi, there was this expanded universe of books.
Right.
And then
I met Timothy Zahn recently.
Oh, nice!
It was really cool. He was at a convention here. It was, really
and that
cool.
was just like considered what happened to Luke, Han, and Leia for years. And then after the Disney acquisition, they're like, we want to use Luke, Han, and Leia. We can't just follow like everything's already laid out in these books. So they erased that and they started a new canon, so that all those expanded universe books are now called Legends, and everything since the Disney acquisition.
Do you both think they should have followed that?
I don't know, but this is where Star Wars to me starts to feel a lot like a religion. This is where it starts.
Well, I think it's very.
I think it's
very comparable.
I think we have to. I think Star Wars also had this unique thing, unlike the superheroes, which have always like thrived on multiple iterations. For the longest time, other than like the Marvel comics in the 80s, I mean, I guess the holiday special, but like Star Wars had one canon for a really long time, or what appeared to be one canon for the long time, and one guy in charge of it.
Yeah.
But like when you think about it, there's so many of those Legends books, and some of them take some weird turns. I don't know all of them, but I know a lot about them. Like you wouldn't want to be bound to all of those. And now more and more you're seeing it. They are very smartly taking some of the best stuff from those and spinning them into this timeline. And so
which feels like what a religion would do, right? It feels like
absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, look, my religion started as a animal sacrifice religion. We don't do that anymore every week, and we're better for it. Okay. Speaking of new things and evolving, I love this, and really that episode just helped me process so much. We want to play one of our classic Friday night movie games with you. Okay.
Yes, let's do it.
It's a new classic. Actually, this is a new game. It's not one of our original games. It's called a Campare-a-thon. It was named by Chris Royce of the Buddies Without Borders podcast. So I always like to tribute the name of it, although we were doing it, but we were like, Chris, what do we call this? And it's like, I have an idea. So this is a Campare-a-thon. And this is going to be the most epic edition of it. So what's going to happen is this is the new characters. And when I say new, starting with the Ewoks, I'm going to run down a list of what you would call new characters in Star Wars. And you have to essentially put them one against each other. It's like a tournament in a sense. Okay. And whoever makes it to the end of the ladder, like Mortal Kombat, we're going to declare Tim Burns' best new character. Like the best character invented since 83 or 84.
I might need a little bit more as we start playing the game, but to understand it.
Okay. It's one round and I'll explain to you. So we're going to start with the Ewoks. And then I purposefully picked, by the way, some obscure ones. Definitely a ton that Lily has never heard of, because Lily's reaction will be amazing. So if I say Ewoks or Jar Jar Binks, who do you pick?
I'm just sorry. Like if you look at the list of these names, for anybody to say that like a black person in Star Wars is racist, is against the thing, and is not what it's supposed to be. Has anybody read this list of names? It's just the most insane thing I've ever. I mean, yeah.
All right. Yeah. So Ewoks or Jar Jar Binks? Who do you pick?
Ewoks.
Okay. Why the Ewoks? We won't do all of them. I love a reason though here and there. So we're gonna.
Well, you're talking about the Ewoks as a whole, and then one character.
I could do Wicket versus Jar Jar if you want, or maybe Logray versus Jar Jar. Chirpa.
The Ewoks, because they've been compared to Jar Jar in terms of like just being for kids and being this thing like for George to make money off of toys or something. But I think the Ewoks get across the point more effectively than Jar Jar does. But I do have in retrospect, I have a lot of love for Jar Jar, and specifically Ahmed Best, who played him. Yeah. Because I think that Ahmed Best is a pioneer of that technology, and it's unfortunate I don't know. It's a situation I think about a lot, about the dynamics when he was filming that movie, and possibly being one of very few black people on the set, and just genuinely creating this character and putting a lot of his own heart and soul into it, and then expanding to when it comes out and all the backlash. It's very sad.
I do like how you guys say on your episode, and that you make reference to the fact that from, I think, sounds like firsthand, and then other accounts of people have heard, that being part of the actual real experience of making the movies is not always so great, which is probably true for any movies or any, except for Top Gun. That movie seems like everybody had a great time. Other than that, the new one. Yeah. It sounds like that seems to be a good time, but it's true that I think we don't really think of the people behind the characters a lot of the time and what went into that.
We should have learned a lot from Jar Jar Binks, and
that seems we've learned nothing.
Best and Jake Lloyd.
That's what I'm
already
saying,
once.
Right.
But like Jedis in different generations, people seem to people get mad. Mistakes can be repeated. They do get repeated, unfortunately, and it's terrible. Okay.
Somehow the mistakes have returned. Yeah.
But this time we have Ewan McGregor.
Honestly, they feel worse now, though. They feel worse now.
But now you have Ewan McGregor defending the Jedi. So there's that.
Okay. Great. Ewoks or Sebulba? Lily, do you remember Sebulba?
That's not a real character. That sounds like something you have to have removed.
Sebulba races in the pod race against Anakin.
Okay, sure. Fine. I mean, it definitely sounds like a disease.
This whole thing is tough because like the Ewoks really are so cute. And okay, let's continue.
It's a long list. All right, so you keep
definitely
the Ewoks.
Ewoks.
All right. Okay, the Ewoks are Captain Panaka. I always thought he was really cool.
Captain
Panaka. He's part of Padme's guard. He helps when they take the palace back.
Is it my turn? Is that?
Oh no, it's always your turn.
It's always just you. You think Shai will let me have an opinion on this? There's no way.
We're commenting, but this is your
this is your game. It's obviously, but the answer is Ewok still. But you can.
Sorry, I lost my voice there because I was so excited. Ewok still.
Ewoks are Padme.
Padme's the mom. Is Natalie Portman?
Yeah. Lily,
I like that.
Let him answer.
I will say Padme.
Over an Ewok.
Over the Ewoks.
Yeah, I agree.
Because I haven't seen a lot of the Clone Wars animated series, but the bits that I've seen involving Padme are very good, and so it's given me a lot more faith in that character than exactly what we saw in the prequels.
Clone Wars taught me that other than one particular situation for me, you really can't jump to conclusions with what you think about something about Star Wars when you first see it, because they will then go in and fill in and tweak and give you layers that you've and also and so I highly recommend it. There are these websites though that will block out the different episodes that follow a particular thread, so you don't have to watch it consecutively. Like, I want to watch all the Darth Maul stories, so you watch all the Darth Maul. It's a much better way to watch it. Okay,
that's great. Padme
or Liam Neeson's Qui-Gon Jinn?
Qui-Gon.
Qui-Gon.
I go with Qui-Gon.
All right, Qui-Gon or Mace Windu?
I'm gonna. I love Mace Windu.
What is not ethnic about these names? At this point, I'm like, why are there white people in these movies?
Mace Windu is really cool. I hope that he returns. I hope that he's still alive.
Never saw his body. Never saw his body.
Yeah, he's really cool, but there is so much genuine great mystery around Qui-Gon that I'm still going to stick with Qui-Gon.
Do you hope? Sometimes I feel like we're better off not knowing. I love Prometheus, but I also live in the same mindset of I wish I never found out where the aliens came from.
Yeah.
Do you feel that way about Qui-Gon, that he's got to stay mysterious?
I think so. I mean, there's a twinkle in Qui-Gon's eye. He just knows something. He gives a rebel. Shmi. By the way, connecting Star Wars to religion, the actress who plays Shmi, Anakin's mother, who was immaculately conceived him through the Force. She also played the Virgin Mary in some sort of biblical.
Oh wow!
Film.
Also, her name translated in Hebrew means "my name."
Wow,
which is also kind of deep. All right, so Mace Windu or Darth Maul?
Wait, I'm still keeping.
I thought you picked Qui-Gon.
I thought you picked Qui-Gon.
This is we've made life very hard for Tim.
He's a twinkle in his eye. I thought it was done in the bag.
I am still going to stay with Qui-Gon between Qui-Gon and Darth Maul. Yeah.
Okay, Qui-Gon and Count Dooku.
That guy is not great. Characters.
I will actually go with Count Dooku on that one.
Shocker.
All right, Christopher Lee. Is it Christopher Lee? It is the
they don't explain the dynamic well enough for me in Attack of the Clones, but the fact that Count Dooku was Qui-Gon's Jedi master, and that Count Dooku's master was Yoda, and that and that he's a count who turns to the dark side, but ultimately still wants to end the Sith. I've learned this somehow in the expanded outside. He's a very complicated character, and Christopher Lee's a great actor.
Yeah, so many of the Sith, they're always working against each other, and a lot of them are folks who are so powerful but turn dark and have some sort of agenda to be but it's such a great metaphor for people in power, right?
Yeah.
I'm going to be the one to change it. Like this seduction won't overcome.
Right.
Okay, we'll do a few quickly here. Count Dooku or Jango Fett?
So you're not doing
Jango.
all of these.
No, I'm going to jump around in a minute. I have some specific ones I really want to do. All right. I'll jump a little bit here.
The only one worth a damn on this list is Grogu.
Django or Ahsoka Tano, who is my example of why you have to be patient with Star Wars.
Yeah.
She was annoying when you first met her. She has become one of the best characters in the history of the series.
Yeah. I'm going to stick with Django.
All right.
Yeah.
Django or Captain Phasma, another cool super.
Still going to stick with Django. I was disappointed with how Captain Phasma was handled, but a great mysterious character that stayed mysterious.
Agreed.
All right. Agreed. So we've got Django. All right. So I'm going to jump a little.
It's like a little too mysterious.
I'm going to stick with some mysterious characters here. Okay. And I'll stay away from core characters, even though I have some of them on the list here. So we got Jango Fett or the Broom Boy at the end of The Last Jedi.
I'm going to have to go with Broom Boy just because I love the symbolism of that character. Don't know if he's going to pop up anywhere, but I really did like that moment. And that was great.
Okay, cool. All right. Broom Boy or how about Sabine Wren? Did you watch Rebels at all?
I didn't watch much Rebels. So I think I'm going to stick with Broom Boy.
Broom Boy, okay. Broom Boy or Cobb Vanth, Timothy Oliphant in the
you can't.
Lily, let him answer.
There's only one answer. You don't
let him.
There's it's Oliphant. Like he just
Lily,
went. That's it.
You didn't even finish Justified yet, Lily. I don't accept.
Because I don't want to
answer.
Is it? Can you guys bicker for a little bit while I go get my charger, my laptop charger? I'll be right back.
Absolutely.
It's part of.
I mean, you have a thing where people.
Oh, I think he's really serious.
He went to go get. No, he went to get his computer charger.
Oh, I thought he was like leaving the show. He's like, you guys.
No.
Bicker a lot. He let the guest speak ever.
No, he just went. He literally went to get his charger. But I'm saying is that like an Oliphant situation. What's the debate? Who's better than that? Shai.
Who's better than? I mean,
like
I think a lot. I mean, I think Oliphant. They better take advantage of the fact that he's.
I have a question, since we have a minute. So Rosario Dawson, who I believe is a person of color, correct?
Yes.
Right. Plays. I have to read her
Ahsoka
name.
Tano.
Sure. Yes.
I think I know her.
Nope.
And we're back. Oh, what did I miss?
So Rosario Dawson is cast to play. And like,
but I think the point you're making though, Tim made in the show. I believe you made it in the show, Tim, or one of the hosts did, which is that the fans seem to be okay when a person of color gets like one tweak that makes them not human, but the moment that they are a black person,
but Mace Windu is black.
Look, you can, but you can.
But it's before Star Wars became racist in the prequels.
No. But I think it was just a general statement that like.
Unless like Rose, what was her name? That got that poor girl.
Rose Tico's a human.
Oh my god.
Rose Tico's a human.
Human.
It's like that's how, but that's also how vile the racists are. So that's okay. Okay, so Cobb Vanth or Broom Boy.
Cobb Vanth.
Okay, cool. All right, you're right.
I predicted the right answer.
Okay, Cobb Vanth or Black Cursant.
That's hard because Shai just made up that character.
No.
It's difficult for you to answer because that's just made up.
It's the coolest Wookiee since Chewbacca.
Yeah, I understand that he originated from the comics or something.
Oh yeah, he did.
Black Chrysanthemum's very interesting. Yeah,
they send him. I believe they send a bunch of bounty hunters early in the comics, and he's in there.
They should just like get someone. They should let Black Chrysanthemum into the WWE.
That's amazing. Okay, so you have him. You picked him.
Yeah, I picked him.
Okay, and now let's just take it to the one, the only Grogu. Black Chrysanthemum or Grogu.
Gotta go with Grogu. I think Grogu is the smartest thing that Star Wars has ever done because he will live for so long.
Yes,
that.
They will have so much,
and they don't have to have a person play him,
and they don't.
Right.
That is the smartest thing George Lucas has ever done, creating iconic characters that anybody can play.
Yeah,
I think like even like down to putting Darth Maul in tattooed makeup, like so anyone can put on that makeup and kind of
the cosplayers look like Darth Maul. Okay, Tim, we are just about out of time, but we can't close the show without hearing your recommendations of what people. So thank you so much for your time. And Maurice on Mars is so brilliant,
It's
and
brilliant.
everyone should check it out on
Truly
YouTube.
brilliant. I can't wait to see what else you're gonna do.
So that's our big recommendation here.
Yeah.
What's your recommendation, knowing that we have said that is fantastic?
I'm really enjoying this show on Showtime called The Man Who Fell to Earth. It stars Chiwetel Ejiofor. It's a sequel to the David Bowie film.
Wow.
Yeah,
right,
and it's great. It's created by Ginny Lumet and Alex Kurtzman. Ginny Lumet, who is Sidney Lumet's daughter.
Cool.
And Alex Kurtzman is like really involved in the new Star Trek series. But I think something about the two of them working together is just creating something very fantastic. Like a lot of the way the construction of this show is just fantastic, and it's great science fiction and great speculative fiction. Severance, I'm sure people have recommended this on the show before, is just the greatest, and I'm so jealous that the creator of that show, it's like his first credit is the first thing. It's Severance, directed by
so wild.
I know. And got to give a shout out to my guy Zach Cherry, who acts in that show. He's the black coworker in the show.
Yeah. Brilliant, genius.
Yeah, great. He's in everything, and I think he's also my acting competition, because I don't audition for acting roles very often. But I found that every time I do, it goes to the brilliant Zach Cherry. I think he's probably the most powerful man in Hollywood. He's getting paychecks from Marvel, from Apple.
I mean, what's really amazing about that is just how much. I mean, we've been talking about this on the show a lot. People who are funny and know how to be funny, because they can land that, and it's so hard. When you ask them to do drama, it's almost like effortless. It looks like there's so much, you have so much empathy for that character.
Yes.
Well, Tim Barnes, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you for having me. I'm so glad you're liking the show. And
where can people follow you?
And maybe see your stand-up too.
You can follow me on Twitter at TimBarnes451. That's the temperature at which jokes burn. You can get all kinds of information on me at timbarnescomedy.com. There should be a stand-up clip of mine on there. And some amazing Fallon sketches. Like we go deep for our guests. So, well, this is amazing. Tim, thank you so much for being here. Friday Night Movie family, you know where to find us at Friday Night Movie on Twitter and Instagram, FridayNightMoviePod.com. Theme song is by What Does It Eat? Have a great day, everyone.